everybody. Welcome to Bubble Talk with Burge. I'm running a few minutes late, but I'm here. Yay. I just want to say howdy to everybody out there. Are you ready to get burged? I am ready to really just talk about relationships right now because we're starting our relationship module in our Conscious Leadership Academy starting Sunday. So those of you who are in the Conscious Leadership Academy, you need to go ahead and get through your abundance class. And if you have not been able to get to your abundance class, call the office 770-998-0133. Hi, Yvonne. Canada's in the house. Hey, Karen. Then you can, there's a way to get through the abundance class so you can actually have your relationships class open up for you online. So we're starting the online version of our Conscious Leadership Academy for relationships next week. So get ready. So that's what I want to talk about for a few minutes, is about what relationships are and maybe some tools that might help you in establishing healthy relationships. Excuse me. Okay, it chokes me up, right? Okay, so, wow, I don't even know who's watching, but what a fabulous name you have. Okay. So, relationships, what are they? So there are three types of relationships that you can have. One is with yourself. Two is with other people. And with that other people segment of the population, it can be relationships with your business, with your co-workers, with your family, with your friends, with your loved ones, with your love relationships, okay? With your significant others, or wanting to have a significant other. The third one is your relationship with Source, or God, or Universe, or Great Spirit, or energy, or whatever you want to call that connection that you have. So there's three types of relationship that you can have. And so what I want to talk about for a few minutes is about relationships with others, okay? So a lot of times we get our cues and our belief systems from what we see, right? When we're young, we're very impressionable. So whatever kind of relationship we saw in the home, in our household, whatever that was, that's sort of where we get to learn and start believing how men treat women, how women treat men. What is a healthy relationship or an unhealthy one? So just ask your question, when you were being raised when you were little. Hi, Angie. When you were raised being little, what kind of relationships were you involved in? You know, what did you notice in your household? Were you an only child? Did you have a relationship with your siblings? Were you firstborn? Were you the baby? What kind of dynamics did that create? And how does that affect you in the rest of your life? Also, your mom and your dad, or your male caregiver or your female caregiver. Was something that you grew up with, so you realized, men are absent in my life, or women are absent in my life. So you also got to see and believe things from when you go to school, or you get around your friends, and socialization is like, how did I show up? Was I bullied? Was I accepted? Did I feel like I was a loner? Did I have a lot of friends? So these types of things in society, in our family, in religion, in our culture, all of these things create our beliefs. And did you know that most of our beliefs are formed before the age of 7? So that is typically what the beliefs are you have around everything: money, relationships, purpose, life, career, yourself. So in our essence of relationships, which you can come to, it's our one day we're doing as part of our Conscious Leadership Academy. In April, we'll be doing our one day live event for relationships. You're welcome to come to that one day if you choose. You go to essenceofbeing.com/EOR, and that's Essence of Relationships, okay? Or you could just go to see everything at essenceofbeing.com. You can also go see essenceofbeing.com/CLA, which stands for Conscious Leadership Academy, and that gives you everything that we're doing in the Academy portion, which is online and live. Yay! So a couple things have come up around relationships as we're putting all of this stuff up. And what I'm getting a lot of feedback from people, it's just interesting how when we are focused on certain things keep popping up for counseling people with, and people are having questions about. So one of the things I want us to remind us all about when we have relationships with others, that sometimes we can get triggered, yes? And what I mean by that is we get triggered by something someone says. Maybe it triggers something within us that creates us, and we feel angry or upset or jealous, or we feel unheard, or we feel loved, or we feel wanted, or we feel appreciated. So these triggers, okay, especially the ones that we think make us feel a certain way, when someone says something to us, or they have a reaction or a behavior that we respond to. And most of the time a trigger is not a response, it's a reaction, right? It's that knee-jerk reaction. So oftentimes when we have a reaction to something, we call that a trigger. And when you are triggered by someone that you're in relationship with, no matter what kind of relationship, it takes two, right? So what's really powerful is to say, okay, whatever I'm being triggered by at the moment, I choose to understand what it is about me that is being triggered and why. And for many people, it's the same kind of trigger. Same relationship, different face. Same conversation, different person. Same kind of experience or feeling we have, but it's a totally different subject. But we still have the same feeling. And so what I always say is, look, who is the common denominator? So there's something in it for you to see, why am I being triggered? What is it about when someone says, I don't want to see you today? What triggers you to say, oh my God, something's wrong with me, or maybe I didn't do something right, or well, maybe you go the other way. Maybe you don't put all the blame on yourself. Maybe you get really pissed off and upset at the other person, like, what's the matter? Why aren't you behaving the way you're supposed to? Or why, I expect you to be a certain way and you're not giving it to me, man. So there's a lot of triggers that happen. So my suggestion would be, whenever you're feeling a little bit upset or you feel a reaction as opposed to a response, okay, and a response is something where you breathe it in, you allow it, and it's not a knee-jerk reaction, okay? So if you have a knee-jerk reaction and you feel it really sudden, that's a reaction. So my suggestion is, if that is you, is that you just say to yourself, okay, what is it in me that is triggering that? What am I feeling around that? And maybe I heard recently, Rainey, my friend, told me about someone at Unity who said, when you have a trigger, you look at it as a signal. And it's a signal to send love to. So you can look at your triggers as a signal to send love to it, instead of using that trigger to dig a hole for you to feel worse, okay? The other thing that came up for several of us recently when we're working on this relationship aspect is boundaries. Many of us were raised without any boundaries, or we don't understand what healthy boundaries are. For many people, they become very codependent, or they blame themselves, they take everything on, okay? And they don't say no, they don't know that word. And because they want people to like them and love them and want them, so they don't want to have a boundary if they say no. So boundaries are very, very healthy to have. It's just a matter of communicating what are your boundaries. And sometimes you don't know what your boundaries are until they're crossed, right? So I have a boundary. I mean, you can do all these things and say all these things, and then all of a sudden I've had it up to here, and now I know what my boundary is. But unfortunately, the person you're with, they don't know that. They just know they've been saying the same thing over and over again, and all of a sudden you're like, no more, right? So it's a good way to find out. I've always said, look, if you really want to grow, and you really want to have personal power and grow and understand yourself more, the best way to do that is get into a relationship or have a child, which, is a relationship, clearly. So relationships are a way that we can really respond to each other in a way and mirror things for each other as to what works and what doesn't. And we have a choice. We have a choice of being conscious about it or being not conscious about it. We have a choice of being responsible and take ownership of it, or we have a choice of being a victim. Okay? So, and letting it happen to us. So my suggestion is to really get in touch with the conscious part of who we are, and maybe from every relationship you approach it from that conscious level, and you say to each other, look, having a conscious relationship is really powerful. It's not always easy, but it's powerful, and it's a way that you can move through any of your blocks that you might be having, that you're unwanted or unloved or not perfect or there's something wrong with you. Those types of things are unworthy or undervalued. So many of us look outside of ourselves to another person to love us enough or value us enough so that we can feel lovable or valued. We look for outside verification, right? And we look for someone else to fill up our hole or fill up our void or fill up that emptiness that we may feel sometimes. And so the validation that we're looking for sometimes is from other people. And when we don't get that the way we think we should, then all kinds of hell breaks loose, right? Sometimes we just we go inside, we start hiding, or we get pissed, or we start getting upset about something, and we blame it on the other person. So just be mindful about your relationships. And so this weekend, I want all of us just to focus on the boundaries that we have, okay? So if you have not set a boundary or had a discussion or communication with any kind of relationship, whether it be your parents, your children, your sisters, your brothers, your significant other, your coworkers, is to have that conversation and say, okay, when you do this, I feel this. The other thing you can say is, for me, the truth is. So if you say those 5 words, for me, the truth is, and you share what your truth is, they can't argue that. They may disagree, but they can't argue it, okay? So I normally pull from my deck of Essence of Being cards, and believe it or not, we've pulled all of them before. So I'll pull one for this weekend, but my challenge to you is to say, for me, the truth is, and if anything triggers you, send love to it. Just know it's a signal. And just see what your boundaries are about, when do they cross your boundary and when do they not, okay? So I'm just going to pull one just for giggles to see what our thing is today. Okay, for this weekend, right? It says, here it is, it's what I pulled. Forgiveness equals completion equals freedom. So a funny thing, we're talking about relationships, right? When you forgive someone, you complete a cycle and release the energy that was bound up in anger, negative thoughts, and old judgments. By forgiving others, you set yourself free and allow new energies to come into your life. Love and grievance cannot occupy the same space. Forgive, complete, and be free. So for some people, forgiveness is one of those esoteric words, or they don't understand it, or they don't want to go there. But completion might mean something different. Hi, McKenna. Okay, you might feel complete, and it also equals being free. So not forgiving someone is like you taking the poison and wanting them to suffer, right? So this is freedom. So when you forgive someone or even yourself, it is a freedom. It's freedom from your own bondage. It's freedom from your own pain. So a lot of times people, when we do our forgiveness work, I just say, hey, look at it as completing or being free. So just notice that if that's you, and that's why I pulled the card today, because we're talking about relationships, right? So go to essenceofbeing.com/EOR, that's Essence of Relationships, or you can look at our whole Conscious Leadership Academy that we have this whole year, and go to essenceofbeing.com/CLA, which means Conscious Leadership Academy. And just know that, again, our challenge this weekend, check your boundaries, say, for me, the truth is, and just notice if you're getting triggered by anybody, let that be a signal, okay, that you're going to send love to it. And pinch and shift, right? You know that whole technique that I'm sharing with you that just came up with one of our bubble talks, is you pinch yourself because pain brings you present, okay? So pinch yourself and say, oh, that's triggered me, I'm going to send love to that. Or you pinch yourself and shift your thought. So break a leg, everybody, this weekend, pinch and shift, and say, for me, the truth is, and remember, forgiveness equals completion equals freedom. So until we see each other again next Tuesday with Bubble Talk with Burge, you have been Burged.